all involved. I realize. Do
you want to bring the speaker over there so we can tell her she did a good poop?
She didn't. That's why she's back in her crate. Once she poops, I don't have to take breaks every 15 minutes anymore. So, do we have everybody back?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here.
Was anything else happening on the 24th except for Seeker's little adventure over to West Harbor this evening?
Nope.
Seeker.
That was a deception roll.
Okay.
And it was a 20.
Are we doing the spell inside the shop or outside the shop?
So I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Is it possible for me to walk past the outside of the shop with detect magic on and see if they have anything that looks like will start blaring if I cast it inside the shop?
So the shop itself is situated under this bridge in West Harbor, and it's kind of this ramshackle little rundown place. You'd never heard of it before. Probably just like a local alchemist for West Harbor and surrounding neighborhoods. Nowhere you've had needs to do business before. Going by with detect magic, you get the same kind of vague magical readings you would walking by any alchemical shop.
Okay.
But no, nothing immediately stands out to you.
All right, then yeah, I'm going to cast it inside the shop.
Inside, and then we're using sight or sound?
I'm going to use sight for now. If it starts looking like people are talking, I'll swap over.
Okay.
It says I can swap it using my action.
Okay. And where are you going to be while the spell is active?
I'm going to be... Just in case they have some way of tracing it that I don't know about. Can I be... Do you mind if I, real quick, look at this one more time just to see? Okay. You can choose saying you can use as if you were in that space. You can switch between seeing. Okay, got it. I think I'm going to be visiting Gus.
Okay. It's probably further away than 1 mile from West Harbor to Great Tables Park.
Oh.
That's
okay.
certainly longer than 1 mile.
1,000. Okay. Then in that case, let's call it...
Also, who wants to visit Gus? That doesn't sound right.
Yeah, that's true. That doesn't sound right. Is there like a local inn somewhere that I can rent a room in?
Sure.
Yeah, I'll spend the silver, rent a room.
So around dusk, around the time that the sun starts to set, which is when you were instructed to have the spell in place, the spell itself is only going to last for 10 minutes. In that 10 minutes, you see 3 people approaching underneath the bridge, coming from the south. 2 of them are men of the Silver Shields. The Silver Shields are the palace guard, which means these are handpicked by the king himself to serve as his personal guard. They are, of course, both dwarves. They are dressed in plate armor that is exceptionally shiny, and they're wearing and emblazoned the imagery of House Silverwolf. So they are either related to or in service directly to the king. The third man you see is wearing priestly vestments of the Hammer of Dwerdin, which is an order of priests and paladins. Is also, Dwerdin is the god that the king himself worships. They enter into the shop. Very briefly, the 3 of them begin speaking amongst themselves. You see one of the Silver Shields speak to the other people just kind of browsing around in the shop at the time. The shopkeep ushers them outside. The 2 Silver Shields step outside after that, leaving just the shopkeeper, who is an older woman, human woman. And she also has kind of a ratty appearance to her, just like her shop does. Leaving her alone in the shop with the priest.
I'll swap over so I can listen. What did you say this was a priest of? I'm sorry.
The Hammer of Dwerdin.
Hammer of Dwerdin. Okay.
Dwerdin is it's a dwarven god, but has many human followers, especially in Dunfoss.
Okay.
They're essentially this righteous order of paladins fighting for justice, compassion, and whatnot. Think kind of traditional medieval chivalry.
Okay.
Switching it over, so now you're blind and you're listening for the next 7 minutes or so.
Yep.
And do you speak Dwarven?
I do not. So I wonder if that's something that I can deal with. I'm going to use my action to cast Comprehend Languages.
Okay. So for the duration of your clairvoyance, you'll be able to understand the Dwarvish language.
Yes.
So don't feel bad, because the shopkeeper woman also doesn't speak very good Dwarvish at all.
And the second I find that out, I go, oh, waste of a spell.
But the priest is speaking it to her. And they're not doing it... They're not having an amicable discussion. The gist of the discussion over the course of the 7 minutes is that the king's condition is not improving, despite the alchemist's promises. And if it's found that at any point during her transactions with the palace guards or the House of Silverwolf, if they find that their trust in her has been misplaced and the king dies, she will not be facing the king's justice, because Maximilian will no longer be king, but will be facing the justice of the Hammer of Dwerdin. Make an insight check.
Got it. That is a 16.
16. He doesn't ever overtly state this.
Yep.
But the gist of it is, if Maximilian dies while in her care, despite the promises that she has made, in whatever interim before the next king takes the throne, the Hammer of Dwerdin are going to have her spirited out of town to face justice of a dwarven tribunal for murder.
Okay.
Dunfoss does not have a strong legal system to speak of, but the dwarven homes certainly do.
Okay. And does she sound panicked by this, or does she sound confident that it will eventually work?
Make another insight check.
Okay. That's 12.
Her explanation is that in his advanced age, the king is going to have to get much worse before he gets better. And she says that the constant badgering by the Hammer that it's not working, and they want to switch treatments to other alchemists, to other healers. Essentially giving the argument that the bad vibes are part of why it's not working. However, you can tell that she's terrified that she's going to be spirited away in a black van. By the time the 10 minutes is up, the priest feels like he's already made his point and leaves the premises, at which point she closes shop for the day. And the last minute or two of the spell is just the sounds of her kind of working in her shop.
Okay.
That's it.
I'm going to cast Prestidigitation a number of times such that I don't remember exactly the amount of times that I cast it on the bed in order to clean it.
Wait, what?
Seeker's thought is that if in future he's asked if he cast any spells here, he can say now, yes, I cast them to clean the bed. And if they ask how many spells did you cast, he can say, I don't remember.
Make an intelligence check, DC 10.
Mm-hmm. 19.
Seeker is too intelligent to not know how many spells he cast.
All right, well, I mean, fair enough.
unrelated question.
Yeah.
What part of the city does Caitlin Chubb live in?
Caitlin Chubb, I think we established she's in Wolftown.
Okay.
As I recall.
He's still cast it enough times that he can think up an evasive answer.
And as you leave, you've paid for the inn. You've paid for the room for the hour, however long you spent there. And you're not confronted by any moss caps or any black jackets or anything. Gus.
Yes.
That evening, a little after the sun goes down and it's now dark, you receive another visitor.
Mm-hmm.
Who also has an entourage. Percival, by this point, has retired to whatever tap house he might be able to squeezle some booze out of. The crowds have diminished quite a bit. You can see your opponent. Both of you are exhausted. I mean, just being locked up in the stocks all day. It's not good for the mind or body.
Mm-hmm.
You're sore. You're aching. Your opponent looks like he's drifting in and out of sleep. And that's when you see Sigurd 10 Sails and 4 of his men coming up the road towards you.
I'll greet him. How are you doing?
Sigurd leans with his elbow on your stocks, regarding the man across the way. He nods to one of his men. His man opens his cloak, and inside you see a holster at his side with a smaller version of the kind of firearm that you've seen Alex use. Just a single-shot pistol. He reaches into his man's cloak, pulls the firearm out, points it at the man across the way. He starts freaking out a little bit.
Whoa, whoa. Stop.
Why?
Why? And then like he'll make like a gesture with his hand because he can't like do like why that?
This man has done you an injustice.
I mean, we just had a street brawl. It happens.
That was not your fault, I'm sure.
No, but it's just water under the bridge. Isn't that right? And he's going to holler at the other man.
And you do have to holler to make yourself heard to the other man. And he says whatever he thinks he needs to.
Right.
To get out of the situation. And remember, the fight was about this guy didn't think you were supporting Sigurd 10 Sails enough.
Right.
So he's falling all over himself, kind of with aggrandizement for 10 Sails and his love for the man, and he can't wait till he gets his box of gold or whatever. So you would advise me against taking retribution on this man for the wrong he has done you.
Yes, because he didn't do me enough wrong to warrant killing him.
How much wrong would a man have to do that you would tell me, Sigurd, my friend, pull the trigger?
If I ever reach that point, I'll let you know.
You can't think of anything that could be done to you that you would want me to take revenge for you, that you would feel satisfied at justice being done.
To me, personally, I cannot think of a thing. No.
He reaches forward and puts the gun back in the holster. His man flaps his cloak back into place, and he takes a step back. And that's why you are a man deserving of this. Nods to his other man. The other man pulls a hammer and chisel out of his cloak and begins setting to work knocking the lock off your stocks.
Ooh, While I do appreciate that, I'm only here for another day.
And after you get partway through that sentiment is all the time it takes to hear the clatter of the lock on the ground. The man throws the stocks open.
Thank you.
And he tells you that if any man gives you any reason to believe that this is not justice being done, tell them he will answer to the king of Dunfoss. He gives you a nice slap on the back, gives a nod to his men, and as he and his 4 men turn to move away, down the street, The other guy, whose face is covered with rotten vegetables and pig shit, just absolutely exhausted, is crying out, "Injustice has been done here as well! What about my lock? Sigurd, I love you!" And they don't stop to even look at him.
So... Gus is kind of conflicted about this. One, like, if he stays in the morning, like, being in the stock doesn't really bother him. Getting rotten vegetables thrown in doesn't really bother him. Like, that's just part of the punishment. But standing there having to listen to Percival for 8 hours was absolutely torture.
Florian helped.
Florian did not help.
So what do you do next?
Objection.
I don't know. Like, Gus really doesn't know what to do. Like, because he's like, if he leaves, then the moss caps are going to be like, where is he at? And then they're going to come knocking on my...
So do you just put yourself back in the stocks and stay there even though they're unlocked?
I mean... What are the chances I go out drinking and then just am back by in the morning?
Is that what you like? Well, you don't have any money on you. You're wearing just
oh yeah, I don't have any of my
filthy rags at the moment.
Right, I don't have any money. Crap. He's just kind of standing there like what he's debating like really hard. Like, I don't want to be in the stocks, but I don't want to get arrested again. Is there no moss caps nearby? You said there's still a little bit of a crowd, right?
No, the crowd is dispersed by this point. And it does seem that Sigurd has timed this to be in between moss cap patrols. Like, if you wait a few minutes, some of them might come around. Unless something else is impressing on their presence.
Oy.
Can I just say it's much easier to put Treble in a strange moral quandary than the rest of you? Like, the rest of you, I feel like I have to go way deep into, like, depraved moral territory. With Treble, it's just like, do you do something that's mildly wrong that feels good?
See, he wasn't here for Keelian. Let's be honest.
Listen, Keelian has boundaries.
So what is Gus doing? Let's get a...
Well, Gus is just gonna put himself back in the stocks.
Okay.
Because, like, he doesn't want to get yelled at by Alexander for breaking law.
All right. The next day is Tuesday, by the way. It is the 1st of the month. Seeker, today all of your resurrection penalties are clear.
All right.
So, Florian, you've earned more than 3 gold doing Signer's Guild stuff this past month, correct?
That is correct.
So you're just paying it up front?
Yep.
Oh.
And Seeker, you owe 15 silver pieces or equivalent in trade.
Yeah, I paid the 15 silver.
Okay. Alexander.
Yep.
You got to go to Druid school for today.
Yeah, I do. Before I go, does anyone mind if I grab some money out of the party, out of Flumph's coffers to buy some spell components?
No.
Certainly.
Okay.
Oh, real quick though, just because I want you thinking on how to make this useful.
Yeah.
And Seeker runs. I'm gonna run Alex by it at the moment. What I heard using the clairvoyant spell the other day. I tell him as, I heard this in the streets, but I'm pretty confident about it.
Do you tell me about, like, that they're going to drag the woman off, or do you just tell me, like, that they're telling her, like, in what context?
I tell you in the context of, I'm pretty sure the king is still alive,
Uh-huh.
but it sounds like he's in real bad shape.
Okay.
Just in case that you think of a way to make that useful.
Okay.
And Lucius.
Yep, 45 gold, right?
That's right.
Then I've settled that debt.
And Alex, you're going to be a good boy and go to Yulari
Yep.
for the day?
Yeah.
And Gus, you're staying in the unlocked stocks?
Yes.
What is your explanation when the moss caps come around and the lock has been knocked off of your stocks, but you're still standing there?
I mean, that the lock broke mysteriously, and that I did not really feel like getting, more charges tacked on me. So
As you're speaking to the moss caps, the man across the way is screaming about how you magicked it off.
Gus kind of stares at him. Really?
Yeah, that's really what he's doing. They have a smith come out, reattach a new lock to the stocks. What is Seeker going to be doing today, the first?
Okay, Seeker is going to. I'm just going to report in to Keelan Chubb what I
Okay.
heard, because it doesn't seem like I'm going to be finding any more information valuable than that.
And what about Florian?
Florian is going to start getting training for proficiency in jeweler's tools.
And you have the rules for that and everything? Is that in Xanathar as you're doing this? Okay,
Yes, it is Xanathars.
excellent. And what about Lucius? What is Lucius going to be doing today, the first?
Provided nobody else has anything for him, Lucius is going to go play cards at 56 cards.
Alex.
Yep.
There's always a rotating kind of set of instructors and druids and other spellcasters in the Yulari headquarters. And today you're introduced to a new one. And this is why I love Fantasy Name Generator. I've been waiting for like 3 weeks. Her name is Lapis Elmwings. Lapis is sort of unique and is given kind of a special place of prominence in Yulari because she's actually a full elf, a sylvan elf. This is very uncommon. Yulari kind of has a disgruntled attitude toward elves in general, even though it was founded on elven magic. But for some reason, Lapis is given a position of prominence when she comes in. She's treated like a special guest star instructor. And as you are setting about the day's tasks, you receive a psychic message from her.
Uh-huh.
And you realize that this is another disguise of Dacianaries. And you can see that she's already beginning to plant some of her seeds, because the instructions she's given today, staying in the confines of elven magic, is to speak about certain kinds of psychic magic used by the Drow. There's a scene in one of the Harry Potter books, I forget which, when one of the guys is like, today we're going to teach you kids how to do the killing curse, just so you can spot it and you know to recognize it. That's kind of what this is like. This is being shown incredibly taboo subject matter under the auspices of anybody skilled in elvish magic should be able to recognize this, because what are Drow if not a form of elf? A lot of people who otherwise don't pay close attention in these tasks are paying rapt attention to Lapis, to the point where you're kind of wondering if she snared them with enchantments of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
So how is Alex reacting to this development?
I mean, he's one of the people who usually doesn't pay a lot of attention. He's paying a lot more attention. Way better than going out at noon under the full moon to cut a piece of holly with a silver sickle.
Okay. Which is kind of what you're used to doing. The actual task she has you guys going about is that she has petitioned for the Yllari Gardens to plant a kind of parasitic flower called toadstripe that thrives in the Underdark, but cannot thrive in sunlight. So great pains are being taken in a corner of this garden to grow this particular flower. And she explains that one of its uses is to weave an enchantment that the Drow, in particular, like to use on unruly slaves. What's a form of torture, really, in that they can bind you psychically using a concoction made with this toad stripe in order to force your body to do things, even though your mind remains totally aware of what's happening. It sounds horrific, but she puts everyone at ease that there are many other sorts of things that have to go along with this toad stripe to make the concoction, and that she could never, in good conscience, teach this form of magic in its entirety. All you guys are going to be doing is putting this toad stripe and getting this garden started today. Whether or not you believe her, I'll leave up to you. On your character sheet somewhere,
Yeah.
as a resource that you can spend later, you have learned over the course of today one piece of possibly dangerous and almost certainly taboo Drow lore. Some sort of magical secret that has been taught to you by a woman who you know to be an actual dark elf, but is wearing the disguise of a Sylvan elf. Do you tell anybody there? Or do you let anybody else know? Just let her do her thing.
What I will do though is I'll try and as we're working, I'll try and get Alice's reaction to this person, my study buddy from the Yllars.
Okay.
And to basically to the whole day's proceedings. Like what does she think of all this?
My recollection is that Alice is primarily an archaeologist.
Yep, that's why we're friends.
And archaeology is not commonly practiced in areas of the Underdark, simply because it's just too remote. Trying to get to, say, like ancient Drow ruins to excavate them. Alice, you can tell that she's both severely offended that a fellow elf, because she's a full-blooded elf, yes, looking at my notes here.
Yeah.
She's, first of all, extremely offended that this would be thought to fall under the purview of Yllari, but over the course of the day, you can tell that she's also very intrigued by it. This is forbidden magic and knowledge that apparently Yllari has signed off on including as part of their curriculum. So she's very conflicted about it. But you don't tell her that you know that Lapis is actually a drow.
No.
And you can tell over the course of the day that Lapis kind of pays extra attention to not interacting with you personally, other than sending you that one message. She wants you to know who she is and what she's doing in this moment. And at the end of the day, she sends you a second message. And it simply says, and remember, you can reply to these if you wish.
Yeah.
Her second message is that you will tend these crops diligently, she hopes.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on them.
Yes, evil mind control plants. That's not going to backfire horribly.
You need more than just the one plant to do the evil mind control torture shenanigans.
Plus, she has a weird curse, so who knows what even happens if she tries to mind control someone.
Lucius, Would you like to
Yes.
do your gambling rolls for the day?
Absolutely.
As you reach the 56 cards, though, Oswald has made good on his part of your bargain. He's gotten your ring back from wherever it landed.
Okay.
What
Excellent.
do you tell him about Irving? He hasn't seen him back in since, and he doesn't bring up the subject if you don't.
I'm not gonna bring the subject up, but part of this is I'm gonna be kind of a regular here to see if he shows up over a few days.
Okay.
Because I wanna see if he skipped town or not.
Okay. Go ahead and do, what is it, 1/6 of a gambling action for downtime at the 56 cards today.
Thought it was a fifth.
Oh, a fifth. Yes, that's right. We decided.
Yep. So
Keeps-
2 gold stake, and let me do my checks.
Keeps the math easier. Seeker. You report truthfully back to Caitlin everything that you saw happen?
Yeah.
Okay. She
We're good.
seems...
Sorry to interrupt. I do need a 2d10 from you though. 2d10 plus 5
2d10
for DCs for these gambling checks.
Oh, I'm not. I'm using these dice. I should use my own dice.
I do that all the time when I'm running.
I didn't get my dice out yet.
Oh.
There you go. All right.
Yeah,
let's roll some
excellent.
dice.
I love it.
First DC is 12.
Gets pass.
Second DC is 16.
That's also a pass.
Okay. So you had
One more.
one more.
Little mas.
It's not a bad day of gambling. And third one is 21.
That's a fail, but I get half my stake back. I get 1.5.
You get half again.
So
Yeah,
that's-
so you made out.
Yeah. So I came out of gold ahead.
Let's
Okay.
see if there was a complication today.
Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
No, nothing complicated happens.
Excellent.
Seeker.
Yeah.
She tells you it'll be 2 or 3 days before she can properly construct a glass eye for you. She tells you that this particular spell, the glass eye that you use, though any eye will make the spell work, as you've learned, because you use hers to cast it the first time. Is if one is personalized to you, if you put something of yourself into it, the more you use it, the more powerful this particular form of clairvoyance will become over time.
And I just correct her. I've never cast the spell before.
No,
But-
she's informing you. Of,
Yeah.
if-
No, she said I know because she cast the spell, because I cast the spell earlier using her eye, and I clarified, no, I've never cast
okay.
the spell before.
Well,
But-
the spell works no matter what you do, but she's saying it can
Yeah.
become more powerful if you have like your own personalized glass eye.
That seems reasonable.
So she,
What does that mean?
what does Seeker think it means? What would you offer? A lock of hair, a drop of blood, a fingernail.
Well, Seeker will look her in the eyes and say that seems like something that could be dangerous to just let loose.
She says
What,
that all magic is dangerous.
Right, but I would want you to assure to me, first of all, that that was the only use to which you'd put it.
And she gives you this assurance.
Can I make an insight roll on that?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to not roll
Okay.
because I want to know if she's lying.
Okay.
That is a 24.
Here's the difficulty with Caitlin Chubb.
Yeah.
Is you could just never really tell. Because one minute she's talking about her love of king and country, and it sounds like she's talking about duty and doing the right thing, even though you'll get no recognition for it. The next minute, she's talking about the shadiest shit you can imagine. One minute, she tells you that, yeah, you can copy spells out of her book, and she's happy to help somebody along. The next minute, she's telling Gus that she's gonna kind of disown him. Tell him she's never seen him before, that he's a fraud, and get him thrown in. You just don't know where she stands. With a 24 on insight, you begin to realize this is something more than just social ability. She's getting this effect through some form of magic.
Okay.
Whether or not you believe her, that's still up to you.
Alright. Seeker will take a drop of blood.
Okay.
And just kind of... What would be most useful? Just in a little vial?
Yeah, she'll just collect it on the tip of a needle.
Alright, yeah, I'll give her a drop of blood, stick it into a vial, and give it to her.
She's Bizarro Seeker.
She asks you what your opinion is on the shopkeeper that you watched. You only saw or were listening in for a few minutes, but do you think this person is sincere? Or do you think that she is a fraudster?
So the impression I got was that she was nervous about this, but she did sound like she knew what she was talking about.
She certainly made the
thing
priest sound like that, yeah.
Yeah, the thing Seeker says is that somebody who didn't want to be found accountable for this would have tried to would have not done as good of a job convincing the priest not to switch to someone else. Because if the king were to die on someone else's watch, how could they blame her?
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to keep the responsibility, which to me says that she's sincere.
She makes a comment at one point in the conversation, just kind of offhandedly and kind of flippantly, even, wondering whether Flumph Inc., being the magicians group that they are, would lose much sleep should good King Maximilian die.
And Seeker says that he has found that with people being suspicious of magic, that can actually be very good for business, because that means there's not as many people studying.
Okay. Is anybody doing the puzzle book today?
Yeah, I'm going to.
Are we doing 3 more shifts on the puzzle book, or just Seeker?
Yeah, I'll take a shift after I get back from Yulari.
Sure.
Do you want the night
Florian
shift
will
then,
do a shift,
Florian?
Sure.
Let's go ahead and get those rolls.
I'm gonna use
Nope.
my
That's a
Nothing-
10.
Your mind has been clouded by drow magics.
Yeah.
That was a 10 on the money.
10 on the money, so nothing for Florian.
Florian was clouded by thoughts of jeweler shit.
That's a 23.
That's 13. That's not bad at all.
No.
I mean, if the other two hadn't flubbed it, I think we could have done. You could have done it.
All of you notice, though, going about your day's task, except Gus, because he's standing in stocks. It gets locked back in place and has to listen to Percival Penniless for another 8 hours. All of you notice, though, over the course of the day, that there seems to be a larger than normal influx of travelers. So as you're passing back and forth through North Gates, actually, Gus, you might notice, because one of the main gates comes directly into Great Tables Park.
Huh?
A large influx of travelers. A large number of dwarves that seem to have been on the road for a long time. Their carts are battered. Some have suffered injuries. All very, very weary. So the various inns and hostels in North Gates, in the Market District, and even into some of the various harbors begin filling up very quickly. Reports from Gnome Town as well. A lot of them are calling in favors on very distant relatives to be putting up weary dwarven travelers. And the city is rife with rumors about why this is. And at this point, I am sorry to say I must leave you once again to see if the puppy will poop.